10 haunted places around the world. Number 10. Cinco Saltos, Argentina. This town is reportedly a paranormal hotspot. There have been numerous reports of witchcraft and death. Additionally, there have been numerous UFO sightings in this location. The witchcraft stories that have come to surface about this town has brought rise to many questions about the reported haunted state of the town. In the year 2009, the body of a little girl who died in the 1930s was found in an ossuary, leading to even more questions about the possible dark magic that is flowing through this town and its history. Number 9. Jeruk Purut Cemetery, Indonesia. This cemetery is located in Jakarta, Indonesia. It is reported that this cemetery is haunted by the ghost of a decapitated pastor. According to legend, the pastor carries his head around under his arm and he is followed by a large black dog. Apparently, the pastor is looking for his grave, which is not even located in this cemetery, but instead it is located in Tanah Kusir Cemetery. There have been reports of numerous other ghosts and ghouls who roam the cemetery, including the corpses of a few generals who did not succeed at their attempt in a coup. It has been named the scariest location in Jakarta by a local radio station, and it certainly does well at living up to that description. Number 8. Leap Castle, Ireland. Leap Castle is the historic of many executions and acts of cruelty towards people. The original family who owned the castle were called the O'Carrolls, and when the head of the household died, a bitter rivalry was sparked amongst the family, pitting brother against brother. In the end, one brother murdered the other brother inside a chapel, which is now appropriately named the Bloody Chapel, sealing their fates in blood. Eventually, the castle was burned and partially restored. It was purchased by the Darby family, and they were the ones first to relate the accounts of ghosts who now haunt the castle, made restless by the brutal bloodshed of the family that occurred in the 1500s. It is currently a location that is being restored, but its terrifying past is undeniable. Number 7. Kohi Shiltan, Pakistan. Kohi Shiltan is a mountain in Pakistan that is said to be haunted by the ghosts of 40 babies. The legend of this myth is that a couple a long time ago were married for many years, but try as they might, they were unable to have children. This led to the woman going to a religious leader for help. The priest could not help her, but the son of the priest did help her, and he cast 40 pebbles into her lap. This led to the eventual and unexpected birth of 40 babies whom the married couple could by no means take care of. So the father did something about it. They cursed the priest's son and the father, losing his mind, went to the peak of the mountain with 39 of the babies and left them there. Following this, the mother wanted to find and bury the bones of her children. To her surprise, she found them all alive when she arrived. So she took the 40th baby, the one they kept, and left it there for a night stay with its brothers and sister, and up her return to the next day, they were all gone. It is said that the spirits of these babies still haunt the peak of Kohi Shiltan to this day. Number 6. Boot Hill, Arizona. Boot Hill is what you called a cemetery for gunfighters in the Old West. The most famous example of a boot hill is the one in Tombstone, Arizona, which is reportedly haunted by the ghosts of gunfighters and a little girl. The cemetery has many unmarked graves, and it has been reported by visitors that they have seen ghosts who point their guns at them and additionally see a little girl who roams the cemetery by herself. The graveyard has about 300 graves in it, and about 205 are identified. The identities that were lost due to the neglect of the cemetery for nearly 100 years. Much of it has been restored now, and it is open to the public for no fee. Number 5. Union Cemetery, Connecticut. The Union Cemetery has been cited as one of the most haunted cemeteries in the United States. Many books have been written about it, and many paranormal experts have done shows and segments on it, detailing its past and its history of paranormal activity. Various orbs and ectoplasmic occurrences have been sighted on the ground of this cemetery, but perhaps the most common sighting is the White Lady. She is apparently a ghost who is seen roaming this graveyard, as well as another in Connecticut, wearing a flowing white nightgown, or perhaps it is a wedding dress. Regardless, this cemetery is a hotspot for paranormal activity. Number 4. Myrtles Plantation, Louisiana. This plantation, located in St. Francisville, Louisiana, is believed to be haunted by the ghost of a slave named Chloe. Chloe reportedly killed several members of the master's family, and as a result, she was killed by her fellow slaves in cold blood. Additionally, it is thought to be located on top of a Tunica Indian burial ground. Apparently, it is the home to at least 12 ghosts, and it is reported that up to 10 murders have occurred in the household. Only one death has been verified by history in this house, and that was the assassination of William Drew Winter, who was shot by an unknown stranger outside of his home, and he went in, tried to climb the stairs, and died there on the stairs. His death occurred in 1871. Regardless of what history says, people still cite this as a very haunted location today, and it is a very common sight for supernatural hunters. Number 3. Bangor Fort, India. There are two myths about this fort that are prominent and frightening enough to scare folks away. There is a small town located on the outside of the fort, and one of the two myths is that if a house is ever built taller than the fort, the ghost of the man who once lived in the fort will destroy the town and all who reside in it. The second myth is a bit more frightening. It states that there is a wizard who was very skilled in black magic and he had fallen in love with the princess of the fort. However, the princess and her family would not allow him to be with her, so he attempted to sway her with a love potion, which she saw through and rejected him, throwing his potion at a boulder which began rolling and crushed the wizard. In his dying breath, he cursed Bangar and it was subsequently destroyed by the Mughals. Due to the wizard's curse, it is claimed that this fort is haunted by the ghosts of the princess and her family, as well as all of those who died in the sack. Number 2. The Winchester Mystery House, California. This house belonged to the Winchester family. Yes, that Winchester family, the ones who made the rifles. Sarah Winchester began the construction of this house in 1884, 3 years after her husband's death, the owner of Winchester Firearms. The house was built under her direct guidance, and it eventually became her personal residence. The house itself is massive and currently contains over 160 rooms. Before a series of earthquakes that had hit the house, it had been 7 stories tall and contained even more rooms. Now it is only 4 stories tall, and it has had to be restored many times. The house is considered haunted because the number 13 appears as a theme in the house, such as 13 candles in each room, 13 windows in the ballroom, and so on. She built the house in impractical fashion due to her beliefs in ghosts, and now some people believe that the house traps ghosts, and like others, her spirit is trapped within it. Number 1. Alcatraz, California. Alcatraz was a maximum security prison located on an island off the shore of San Francisco. The island was notoriously surrounded by sharks, as is most of the San Francisco Bay. This made escape nearly impossible. It was originally established as a military installation in 1863, but later in 1933 it became a prison, which it remained as until 1963, when it was abruptly shut down. It contained some of the most ruthless and notorious criminals of all time, such as the infamous Al Capone. The prisoners who were put into prison here were severely mistreated. This was due to the time in the 1930s rehabilitation for inmates was almost non-existent, and instead the prisoners of Alcatraz were heavily punished and abused in many different ways. This has led to numerous reports of the ghosts of abused inmates who haunt the halls of the once active prison. These reports have been prominent since the 1960s, and despite this is now a tourist location. People still send in a lot of sightings of ghosts on the island fortress that is Alcatraz.